if I were to give you a list of swear words, and you were going to rank these things, like for example, if I say "damn," okay, there you go, "damn." It's right there on the screen. All right, swear word, probably not something I would say to my mom, but probably not something that is super offensive. If I say "dang," right, I might say that to my mom, not super offensive. So on this sort of scale of badness here, if I say "shit," ooh, that's a little bit worse, right? A little bit more like, you're even awkward looking at that on the screen. And then I could have some more up here, and then there's down here. There's some words right here that I couldn't even sort of say as an example. Like they're that bad. That just sort of just mentioning that could be like you guys would lose all respect for me if you have any to begin with, et cetera, et cetera. Like this is just these are the worst of the worst, the deep end of the pool. Now here's the deal. Genocide is right here. If we're listing all of our sort of political violence, genocide is at deep end of the pool. It is not just a bad thing; it's a bad thing within a bad thing. So let's talk about what genocide is and why we put it down here in the deep end of the pool. No, you don't have to look at my dirty words all the time in case your mom walks in. There you go. So genocide. Genocide, the word is, so side, if I say the word patricide or insecticide, patricide is killing your father, insecticide is killing insects, genocide is killing, geno is Latin for race, so it's killing a people group or a race. And the definition we have is from the 1948 Genocide Convention. So states, all the states that are in the United Nations, which are all the states, have signed on to this. So they all agree on this is our definition of genocide, and we think it's bad. And it's not a big conclusion to say this was driven a lot by the 1940s, the Holocaust in the 1940s. And there's sort of this idea that after that, never again should we have something like that. No more genocides. So the idea here, genocide is the intent to destroy a group in whole or in part. So let's say that I just have, this is going to be really awkward, so just work with me for a second. Let's say there's 100 people and I go out and I kill 100 people, okay, just 100 random people. That makes me a mass murderer. That makes me a really bad person. I go to jail, maybe I get executed, whatever, it's bad. But if I go out and kill 100 people because they belong to a particular racial group, that's like bad plus. And that's the thing we're talking about here as well. We call those in state law, we call those hate crimes, right? Where it's you do the crime, but the hate crime like adds more onto it. And that's the same thing here. I'm not just intending to destroy. I'm just saying just destroy a group. And that group is largely built around this idea of ethnicity or race or religion. There's something about this group. I don't think that group should exist anymore, and I want to get rid of it. I want to remove it from humanity. So this is more than just killing. Like killing is bad. And we have things like if you're just killing a bunch of people, there's crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, and all that kind of. But this is not genocide. Genocide takes the next level. And so if I'm trying to kill people, that's one thing. What if I am doing something to affect the conditions of life calculated to destroy? So for example, I'm maybe not killing them, but I'm burning all the crops of this group of people. Well, that would be considered genocide as well. There's one more thing that came out of the Rwandan genocide, and that was if you're doing things to prevent births, and so systematic rape, for example, during war against a particular ethnic group that is designed to make sure the next generation is not from that ethnic group or only partially from that ethnic group is considered genocide as well. So again, we're talking about some pretty bad stuff. We're not just talking about killing people. We're talking about removing a particular people group from humanity. Now, okay, these are more than just hate crimes. So let's just talk about this a little bit more here. If I'm just an individual doing this, like the odds of me being able to pull this off are very, very low. So let's just say that I run around and I start trying to kill off everybody in this people group. Well, I'm just an individual person. I'll get, 30, 40 people and then I'll be arrested and that's it. the odds of me actually pulling this off are so low that it's not genocide. However, what if I am the leader of a country or the mayor of a particular town and I say to everybody, go kill off this group of people? Now there is that possibility that it could actually work. So it tends to be tied to political motives. It's official policies, because those actually will sort of end up could end up in the killing off of a whole people group. So after the Rwandan genocide, there were the people who were out there killing people, and there were the people who were on the radio saying, go out and kill people. It turned out that the people who were saying, go out and kill people, were the ones most guilty of genocide, and the ones who were actually doing the killing were less blameworthy, culpable for that. That's sort of how that gets played out. So the offenders usually hold positions of influence. They're leaders. They have some sort of influence over people. And again, the goal is not murder. The goal is the murder of the group. If you're just trying to kill people, that's bad. If you're trying to kill a particular group of people, that's way, way worse. All right. So that is basically our definition of genocide. Now, here's the deal. There are some criticisms of this definition. Let's talk about these very quickly. Number one criticism is, well, not number one, but the first one we have is it does not include cultural or social groups. So, for example, if there's an official policy to kill off all homosexuals, that actually doesn't count as genocide. Still a jerk move, don't get me wrong. These are still bad things, but if this is our deep end of the pool, maybe that's right there. And somehow that is less bad than this seems like a really tough position to make. So it doesn't include cultural or social groups. Another critique of it is there's too many loopholes in it. And one of the big loopholes in it is the idea, again, if you look at our definition, is the intent to kill. It's really hard to prove intent. And that creates a nice loophole in the whole thing. And I'll just add one more element to this. It's only a genocide if states call it a genocide. So states, if it's a genocide, states pretty much have to get involved to stop it. But what if the states don't want to get involved to stop it? Then they just don't call it a genocide. So this is, again, it's a legal definition, but it's not like a criminal justice sort of thing. It's definitely a political thing. The genocide that happened in Darfur, that's in Sudan, back in the 2000s, it took a couple years before the international community actually called that a genocide. And by the time they did, the genocide had already sort of happened. Hundreds of thousands of people were already dead, sent away. The Fur people have been killed in Sudan, and so it's kind of too late to do anything about it. So there are loopholes and problems with this whole process. It's also, on the flip side, there's a number of people who are going to argue that it's too broad of a definition. It includes too many possible things. If there's too many genocides, the term loses power. One of the big supporters of this is going to be Israel and Jewish populations who say there's really only one real genocide, and that was the Holocaust. Everything else is sort of a pale imitation of it. So here's the Holocaust, and here's other things you want to call genocides. So this was far worse, and not just because it happened to the Jewish people, but because it actually almost happened. There was a real state systematic activity to remove all Jewish people, as opposed to just a war or something to that effect. So there are some criticisms of this definition. It is something that still is being worked out. The question that we might ask then is, if this is one of the worst things, and we can all agree genocide sucks, how does the international community, how does humanity stop genocide? Every time after the Holocaust, we said, never again, and then another one happened. And then we said, okay, never again starting now. And then another one happened, never again, never again. It seems like every time a genocide's over, a new one pops up. As you guys just read a little bit about the Rohingya in Myanmar or Burma, you're going to see some videos on this again. And I want you to think about these two questions here. How does the international community stop it? What steps can be taken to build a positive peace? In other words, not just negative peace, where essentially there's not the act of killing. But like, how do you create a situation where those refugees, for example, can go home and feel safe? How do we create a world in which genocide is not a reality on the table? There's no assignment today. I just want you to think about these things. They're hard things to think about, so actually do think about them. But I will see you guys on Thursday for our talk about human rights.